And within a couple of weeks, she was working on the outside. She took a little hiatus, but always itched to get back on the ballerina stage. So in order to facilitate that, as I told you, she bought her own machine. She modified it to her specs. And now she hires the pilots to fly it rather than the other way around. And ladies and gentlemen, that's the so physically demanding is her flight that she works out in her basement gym rigorously 5 nights a week. While this occupies her weekends. Her weeks are spent working for the Federal Aviation Agency. All right, now she has got a position on the top wing. And out go the arms, and there is the wave. Now that stanchion to that bar on the top wing is the law, and the law is the law of gravity. You know, if you have a pencil or a pen or a quarter, and you release your grip on that, it will fall to the earth. Well, the same thing would happen to Jane when Kurt rolls the aircraft upside down. That would not be good. No ropes, no wires, no cables most of the time, and by the way, no parachute. If you only reach your purpose, you would get in the way, Jane said. By the way, usually, those are low to be able to have the parachute during the climb. The difference between a wing walker and a wing rider, well, folks, that's easy. A wing rider is a person that took off on the top wing, will fly the entire flight on the top wing, and land on the top wing. That's a wing rider. In the world today, there are about 16 teams of people that do this type of outside work. A wing walker like Jane, you're going to see, visits different points on the outside of the aircraft. Now, she'll be diving down at a very grueling 150 miles an hour. That is a tremendous amount of force against her frame. So before Kurt pulls back on that control stick, she'll take a deep breath and long breathe until the speed slows down. Here is an example of the full Cuban 8, or the figure 8, drawn out with smoke and the figure 8 laying on its side. And that's the so this is grueling work in terms of speed and wind resistance and the G-loads where she locks her legs before those high G-pulls. Now, consider yourself looking down at the runway as the green and the concrete come up to meet you very rapidly. From the Cuban 8 maneuver to the hammerhead, and now so that top wing is what it would be like with your arms outstretched. In front of you. Only the brains have ever accomplished this. From the loop into that maneuver known as the vertical reverse, straight up, bleed off all the speed. In comes the rudder, the quick swivel turnaround, full power and a dive for speed. Into the full roll. Performing air shows, Jane also works as a budget analyst for the FAA full-time. She's a freelance writer, and she recently returned to college to finish her degree in finance. I think she sleeps about 2.5 hours a day. Now, she'll slow the aircraft. Well, Kurt will slow the aircraft down. And this will be a photo pass, relatively slow pass, with the wing on our side down, allow you to get Jane on her stage into your camera lens and wave. Now, there's going to be some transition after this photo pass. You watch as Jane will grab a hold of the wires and struts. Not only exploits the enormous amount of wind, but also very carefully takes steps, hand over hand, foot over foot, always very cautious because the area that she can stand on is the spar, no bigger than a balance beam. It's about 1 inch wide. All this at a speed of 100 miles an hour. Now, you see where she is now? That's the mark of a wing walker. She's on what we call the javelin strut, which is a connector between the streamlined flying wires, the stainless steel flying wires, at a 45-degree angle right where Jane is. The pilots will put either a wooden rod or a steel rod and clamp it down to those wires to keep them from shaking. So she's riding on that in the streamlined position at this time. The speeds at which Kurt's flying her airplane will be such that just like a skier coming off a high ski lift and getting that extra lift by forming their body into an airfoil, Jane will have that same sensation, and she must hang on for dear life to keep from floating away from the airplane. Her body actually acts like an airfoil. Relatively slow, that reduces the strength that Jane needs to move her position again. So remember where she was, the position she was at. See how she's going to start that movement now. Out to the end of the wing, out towards what we call the end strut. So named because it's a piece of streamlined hardware. Make her way out there and take a stand. Again, get your cameras ready. Now, if all that was not enough, Jane is going to execute once she's out there, using her physical conditioning, her strength, and her technique to execute what we'll call the hang down. Her ankles will be securely wrapped around the end strut, and from your right, you will see her just like hanging upside down from a monkey bar when you were a kid. Her pass will be upside down in relation to the airplane. All right, out at the end strut as promised. Slowly but surely, out in front of the wing and waving to the crowd. Besides being a great entertainer, Jane is also a great singer. We had a talent contest, and Jane got in costume and did the walk like an Egyptian. Yep, she was in full Egyptian costume. It wasn't karaoke, it was a real thing. She's got real talent. Okay, all eyes and cameras ready. You know what's going to happen now. She will be upside down. She will be upside down and facing forward. Watch on our side of the airplane. If you don't think it's possible, watch this. Ladies and gentlemen, you're seeing it here in Leesburg. There she is, upside down. Jane Wicker. Now, you have to remember, how do you get right side up again? Watch the next thing that's going to happen. Jane Wicker, remember, she's the boss. Remember, it's her airplane. From being upside down on the top of the facing forward in an inverted position. Jane's going to be sitting on top of the world. Remember that old song? I'm sitting on top of the world. All right, watch this. You don't think it's possible. You thought you saw everything before, but wait a minute. She's hidden on the other side of the airplane. Oh, Kirk will fix that. He'll fix that in a hurry so we can see her. How about Jane sitting on the bottom wing and waving to you? A chance to sit out on the porch and see the world go by. And now back upside down again. Ladies and gentlemen, how about a big round of applause for Jane Wicker? Her airplane, the new Aurora Stearman, and her pilot of select for this weekend's performance, Kirk Wicker, who she says is one of the best, if not the best Stearman pilot in the world. She has a pool, as I mentioned before, pilots she can hire to fly this airplane. Now the stamina that it took to get right side up again with that wind blast. Folks, you go down the highway here in Virginia, you know, you go down the freeway system at a speed of 70 or 75. If you roll the window down of your car or truck and put your arm out and extend your palm into the wind, you know that's a lot of wind resistance. That's just your hand. Consider that all over your entire frame as she is moved back now to the front cockpit, which will be her point for the landing and the roll-up. As they get ready to make their way around, thank you to Harris Teeter, thank you to Jerry Roscoe, pilot, mediator, thank you to John Marshall Bank. Salute to North Star Opinion Research. Thank you to Nova Accounting and Tax. Thank you to Palio Restaurant, to the Pelican Aircraft. Thank you to Piedmont Aircraft LLC. Thank you to Rich Valor and to Rob Hinkle, RB Hinkle Construction Company, along with Loudoun County Economic Development and ProJet and our turbine sponsors, Toth Financial, Potomac Flight Training, and our friends at Middleburg Bank. As we wait for Kirk and Jane to come back in, we were doing the Cleveland Air Show not too many weekends ago, in fact, Labor Day weekend.